Okay, welcome back. We're continuing our video on flight planning and navigation using the GPS the Bendix King KLN 89. In this case, it's not B. The one in the aircraft 663 Sierra Pop is B, which is IFR certified and can be used for approaches. So where we left last time, we created a flight plan in Flight Plan 0. Well, we'd like to mention to you that if you turn the aircraft off or the unit off, this work is lost. In order to capture that, from Flight Plan 0, which is on Chapter Flight Plan, see that little highlighter over Flight Plan, I can simply turn the inner knob to the right, and I find a flight plan that has nothing in it, and I can simply store my active flight plan into this flight plan for future reference. To do that, I would hit the cursor button, and I get the flashing cursor. I can now either enter new flight plan, or in our case, we want to copy from Flight Plan 0, and conveniently, there's an entry right above that says Copy Flight Plan 0. To get to it, I will turn the big dial to the left, and now it's highlighted. This is telling me hit enter to accept, and I'm going to hit enter. And notice right away, Flight Plan 1 now has the same waypoints as the active flight plan, Flight Plan 0. So KJYO, Jason, and KOKV in Flight Plan 0. I successfully copied that to KJYO, Jason, KOKV in Flight Plan 1. The difference between the two is a stored flight plan. Anything other than Flight Plan 0 always has use question mark inverted question mark, and will have a flight plan other than 0. That's a dead giveaway that you're not on the active flight plan. Also, it does not have the arrow going from one waypoint to the other. So if I go back to Flight Plan 0, notice it does not have the copy to or inverted on the top. It does have the line from one waypoint to the next waypoint. And that's how you save your flight plans for future use. Next time you turn it on, you simply go to the flight plan, the number that you're looking for, find a stored flight plan, turn the cursor on, and either use or use inverted. Use inverted means it takes the waypoint and reverse it. So if you're coming back from Winchester to Leesburg via Jason, this would be a good use. So if I hit enter right now, I will go back to Flight Plan 0 and notice that my waypoints are now in reverse. KOKV, Winchester to Jason to Leesburg. So it's great if you have a flight plan, you get there, you want to come back, you can simply reverse that. And in this case, I'm just going to go back to Flight Plan 1, turn the cursor on. I'm going to use it without inverting. So this is the stored flight plan, enter. This is the active flight plan. Great. So now we're going from KJYO to Jason. Well, what does that mean? So let's talk about navigation. As you can see, there are buttons right here, but right above these buttons, there are printed 3-letter words on the casing itself, and those are chapters. See one of my other videos about chapters. Right now, flight plan, although it's above direct to, but this is flight plan that works with this little dash. Notice that the dash goes left and right and changes the chapter. From flight plan, now that I am good with the flight plan, I'm about to take off, I'm going to turn it to navigate. So navigate is where you most likely use this GPS the most. So now I have a flight plan, and the GPS is going to help me get from KJYO to my first intersection, which is Jason. Notice that I have 4 lines on the right hand side and 4 lines on the left hand side. So let's talk about the left-hand side. The left-hand side is really handy to orient you of where you are. Start with the top line. Top line is talking about the distance from where you are to where you're going. So your next destination is Jason, and it's saying that it's about 14.5 nautical miles to get there. The next line, which is this little line right here, in the simulator or in the docking station, like this docking station that I'm using, it does not show the ground speed, but in the aircraft, of course, it'll show you the ground speed. And that is, to emphasize, ground speed as compared to your indicated airspeed on your airspeed dial. This is calculated by GPS, and it'll tell you your speed relative to the ground. And the next one, that line is broken into two pieces or two parts, the message and the leg. I would like for you to pay special attention to the message, because every time you have a message in the aircraft especially, you really need to push the message button and read it, right? In my case, it's stuck on this same message because it thinks I'm in a special use airspace, and it keeps alerting me. I'm not sure how to get rid of it in the docking station, but in the aircraft, once you see it and you hit message again, it should go away. But please pay attention to the message. If there's a message, you need to see it. Sometimes it tells you to set the altimeter. Sometimes it tells you to turn course, whatever. It gives you a course number and so on and so forth. Now on the right-hand side, you have more information that gives you enough details to get you from point A to point B. In this case, we're going from Jason from Leesburg to Jason. The first thing you'll notice is this little dotted line. This is the equivalent of the CDI when you're using VORs or ILS indicators. The dots are the deviations, and the arrow is the to and from indication. In this case, it's pointing to. If it's pointing downwards, it's pointing to from. And behind that little arrow, and it's not very obvious, but believe me, behind that arrow there's a straight up and down line, right? That moves as you travel from point A to point B. If you're on course, perfectly on course, you'll see it like this. If you're off, then that needle, or the needle equivalent, let's call it the electronic equivalent of the needle in the CDI, traditional CDI indicator, will swing to the left or to the right. And then these dots right here will tell you when the needle comes over, say, the second one, I'll tell you you're 2 miles to the right of that needle, so you need to take a right. Now, it also tells you right here, desired track, meaning to get you from Leesburg to Jason, you set your headings on 277 and keep an eye on it, because sometimes your heading is on 277, but the wind might push you left and right and you have to adjust it. Desired track versus track. Track is actually what you're flying. Desired track is the computed track by the GPS, and it recommends to you to fly heading 277 to get to where you want to go. And if you're not on 277, this will always tell you which heading you're on. So to use it, the best way to use it is to have it on this page and keep an eye on these two numbers, 277 versus whatever your actual track you're flying. Of course, in the simulator docking station, you're not going to have that because we're not moving. But in the aircraft, you will have that. And these two need to be the same or as close as possible. This one tells you more of the same of this. It's just saying the OBS could be set on 2772 to get to that direction. And this in flight will reflect the minutes, the time it takes to get there. So this is page number 1. To go to page number 2 in navigation, I simply turn the little inner knob to the right, and that would be page number 2. And page number 2 is all about your present position. Your present position is given using 3 pieces of information. I like to read them in reverse because it makes sense. This screen could be read as: you are currently 9.6 nautical miles on radial 342 from AML. AML is the RML VOR at the Dallas airport. So that pinpoints exactly where you are. And if you dial in AML on your VOR and center the needle, it should read 342, and it should tell you you're 9.6 nautical miles. So the GPS is doing the work for the VOR and the DME for you. Great tool to have, great function. Now you can also click the cursor button and notice any field that has this little greater than sign. You can use the clear button right here. Push it in. It changes the display. Now I am one that cannot relate to these numbers easily. I have to think about it and calculate it to know where that pointed at on the map, but some people might be able to. Or if you want to jot it down for other purposes, you can do that. Or if you want to create a waypoint, you also can use that. In my case, I'm going to hit clear again. I like the present position in this format, and I'll turn the cursor off by clicking the cursor again. Now I'm going to go to page number 3. Page number 3 shows you the time in universal format, and it's 1446 in the 24 format versus the 12-hour format. And then in real life, when you depart, as soon as you get above 30 nautical miles down the runway, the GPS unit actually makes a note of the time you departed, and it'll put it right there. And it'll tell you the estimated time of arrival, not to your next point, but your destination. In this case, Winchester. It will tell you here your estimated time. And then along the way, you can check and see your flight time. How many minutes or how many hours you've been flying. There's no fields that we can change in this case. It's straightforward. So I'm going to move on to page number 4, which is the most exciting page. And I am being sarcastic. This is the moving map equivalent of the GPS KLN 89. Now, if you've ever used your iPad or you've ever used the 430 WAS and other planes like 43 Sierra Papa, 437 Sierra Papa, and so on, or 24616, you will go, what the heck is this? All right, so let's explain this. Although it is small and archaic, but it still does a decent job. As you look at it, looks like a lot of menus are turned on. The first thing I would do is hit the clear button to declutter the screen. And right now I can see KJYO, JSON, and KOKV, but not good enough. So I'll turn the cursor on, and now notice the number 100 is flashing, and that is the zoom factor. And I will make this smaller by turning my small knob to the left, and as I make them smaller, the map is getting bigger. Again, what I'm saying is it's not as fancy as the other tools that we have today, but it still gets the job done in the sense that in flight you'll see your airplane symbol somewhere on this map. It'll tell you from which point to which point you're heading and whether you're on course or not. One thing you might want to consider is you keep turning the knob to the left and the number gets smaller until you hit auto. Auto is a nice feature that allows you the freedom of allowing the GPS to automatically zoom in and out based on where you are in route. So if I want to keep it that way, great, I'll leave it as is. If I want to choose specific zoom in, zoom out, I will turn the knob to whatever I want to. I want to move on to the item above that auto, which is the menu. Using the big knob, I will turn it to the left, and I will then hit the button, enter, and now I have a menu. What this menu allows me to do is to see things or turn things off based on my needs. If I don't need to see anything other than the waypoints, I will turn these off, and that would have less clutter on my screen. I like to keep them on and zoom in to see things, and then hit the clear button to declutter as needed. But it's your choice. To turn the special use airspace off, with the inner dial, turn it to the right or left until it's set on off. Then use the big dial to move down to the VOR. If you don't want to see the VORs, turn the little knob left or right until you have it on off. And the same thing with airports. You can turn them on and off. And voila, this turned everything off. So I'm going to put the airport back and at least the VOR on. And let's see what the graphics for the special use airspace is. Notice the outline right here. We'll take a look at it and see what that means to us in a minute. But before we leave this menu, let's talk about the orientation of the screen. I tend to like that the map be oriented to the north, and then I can navigate that way by looking at the symbol for the airplane and which way it's going and so on and so forth. I happen to like that. Others like it differently, and you have the option to change that by using the inner knob and turn left or right. In this case, we're turning right. And what happens is, whatever desired track that GPS is recommending for you, it will make it up, oriented up. Not necessarily north, but oriented up. And that way, you always feel like you're moving forward. And that is your desired track. Now, your plane might be left or right to that, but the orientation using this setting is always desired track up. Not north up, not you're flying up, the desired track recommended by the GPS. So as I turn this to the last option, in this case is track up, your own track. Not north, not desired track. So if you're flying off course, you will see the plane heading to the top of the screen. Not necessarily north, but towards the top of the screen. And I happen to not like this. I don't like the desired track up, so I will go back to north up. Of course, you can choose your own settings on that. Once you're happy with all of this, you can actually hit the cursor again, and basically it goes away. And the big letter here is the zoom range, which is next to another entry which is not very clear. Again, if I don't want to see all of that, and notice KJYO, Leesburg, is inside Class B Dallas Airport. Although it does not show the inner circles, it just shows the outer circle. Be careful with that. This is the 4,500 foot floor for Class B, and it does not show the 2,500 boundaries or the 1,500 boundaries. And with that, I would hit clear. So now I would just see my flight plan. Here's KGO, KJYO, here's Jason, and here is Winchester. And that's page number 4 in general. Now, one last thing, if your IFR and ATC is telling you to go direct to a specific point, right? If you look at flight plan page number, let's go back to page number 1. Right, it's saying I'm going from Leesburg to Jason. Let's say you're told to go directly to Winchester. Okay, I hit clear for clarity. Now, notice, let me see if I can move the camera just a little bit. Notice the trick. I can pull this knob out. Pull it gently out. Notice when I pulled it out, a new entry showed up, which is this little entry here, bottom right hand corner. This is one of the waypoints in your flight plan. So if I turn the knob left or right, I can see the points that I entered in my flight plan. So assuming that the controller is telling you to fly to KJYO directly and bypass JSON, you can simply keep turning the knob while it's pulled out. You find KOKV, and you simply hit the button direct to, this right here, direct to, and it'll put it in there for you and asking you, do you really want to go directly to KOKV and bypass JSON? If you want to, hit enter, this little button right here, and push the knob back in gently, and let's go see our flight plan navigation page 1. It says now we're going directly to Winchester. It used to say from Leesburg to Jason. Now it's saying forget all of that. The pilot has given a command to go directly to KOKV. And notice that the numbers changed. It used to be 277. Now it's desired track of 289. Right? So you would need to follow up with that. Click in the message. Notice that there is a message waiting for us. And the message says set GPS course to 289. Right? So you can set your OBS to 289, especially if you're using the autopilot, or you can simply set your heading to 289 and you're going from wherever you are to Winchester. To summarize, this sums up the navigation page based on a flight plan that we entered in a different lesson. To refresh your mind, navigation chapter, page 1, that's what you see. Page 2 is your present position. Page 3 is your timing related info. Page 4 is your moving map, and you can hit the clear button to declutter your screen. And as you turn it to the right again, it goes from page 4 to page 1, which is a function throughout the GPS, which allows you to cycle through different pages. So you don't have to backtrack from 8 to 1. You can just turn to the right and you go directly to 1. I hope you benefit from this presentation. I ask you to leave comments for me or send me an email. Use our website, flydfi.com to communicate with us, or on YouTube, just leave us comments and like us and subscribe. Thank you.